One of the biggest things that is coming out of pro wrestling right now is the reveal and people now talking about the Vince McMahon docuseries. And quite honestly, this series has been a very good one. I really enjoyed it. I hope more people can watch this because it's more than just a burial of Vince, which is what many people were talking about, especially when news broke that Vince wanted to actually purchase the rights and then cancel it. But it was released. Netflix didn't give a shit. And it is, again, a really good document. If you have 6 hours, or you don't even have to watch them all consecutively. You can give like an hour and then just do other things and then get another hour because they're usually about an hour long. It's a little less than 6 hours in total. I will say like the last 2-3 minutes is just the credits. So I'm not going to go into full math on that, but basically if you have time to watch it, I highly recommend it. So this will contain spoilers to the docuseries, but at this point, it's kind of a no-brainer that this was going to be mentioned. So a few things that have really got me interested, or what I took out of it that really got me interested, and so like, that's interesting. The first and foremost was the Owen Hart situation. Now, we have known this for years, that Vince just wanted to continue the show. And there was a huge debate whether you should have ended the show or just continued it. But expect the feedback not be so good, but he went with it anyway. And the show kept continuing, and Owen's blood was even on the ring canvas. Vince said in the docuseries that he actually would have continued it even if he had passed away, because he claims to look at it as business perspective. But that's the issue right away. Someone just fucking died. Luckily, no one watched it. He said if anybody saw it occur, then they would have to cancel the show. But I don't think that's a good excuse. I think you should have still canceled the show because of something this big just happened. But it's like telling me that I should have spent $5 last week instead of this week. It's what's done is done, and you got to move on. Another thing that really interested me was there were times where Vince was talking about things, and he would say, like, for example, with Ted Turner was just trying to bury everybody with his money, and Vince was just trying to compete, but Vince bought out all the territories prior, and they show that, like, you bought the territories prior, but now you're trying to play innocent with the battle between you and Ted Turner. And it got me thinking, I'm like, that is right. Like, he did basically purchase all the territories, and he kept finding ways to get WCW talent over, and his company struggled. You know, he was trying to act like his company never failed. And when it did fail, it was out of his reach. And I'm like, no, you failed because there's some things you need to learn. And it just showed on there that there was no, like, he was trying to play innocent. And you can't do that in the business world, especially when later on Shane McMahon was talking and he had mentioned that he never wanted to hit his dad. But there were times where they would play wrestle and, like, he would grab him by the rib cage or pull him in the back of the hair and then says, I cheated, but I won. And I'm just like, so, hypocrite, fucking hypocrite, duh. The next thing I wanted to mention that really had me focused was actually involving two people, and this was Vince and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now, I'm sure people are gonna be like, "Oh, yep, here we go, another one of these." The situation with Chris Benoit when he did what he did. Vince was saying that everything was a work. Now, he may have been referring to just the diving headbutt, but as he's describing that this is all a work, there were plenty of times where, like, Benoit messed up a move, and you see his head just go, bam, right on the mat. Like, nothing to really break the fall. His head just went slam right on the ground. And the chair shots to the head. And the pile drivers. Eventually, that got removed. But it had to go under Chris Nowinski, because there was at one point where Vince was like, screw that, it's just a work, we're going to still continue doing this. He had to get Chris Nowinski, who ended his career with a lot of concussions, and now he's studying the anatomy of the brain, and that's what it came to. It's like, no, Vince, this is serious. And he had to be convinced by Nowinski to understand this. So, luckily they did, but it's just so funny to me that Vince at one point was like, nah, screw that, we're just going to keep going. Another thing that really caught my interest, and this one, it only caught my interest because he was trying to get around it. He was acting like the situation with Sable, that he couldn't remember it. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't recall this. I don't know what you're talking about. So, for those that don't know the history or have not seen the docuseries but just want to hear people's reviews before seeing it, or whatever you want to do, I don't care. Sable was in the WWF, left, sued for sexual harassment, and then came back just to be Vince's chalet. And now, and then during this docuseries, he's talking about, or they're trying to talk to him about the stuff with Sable, and he's like, I don't remember this. I don't remember. How do you not remember? Like, you remembered your steroid trial. You remembered the interaction with the first female referee that had the sexual harassment situation occur. Sorry if I'm a little blank on the names. I don't quite remember the referees' names because I was more focused on what was going down. And the stuff with Sable, we kind of all knew. If you were a longer fan, because this happened before I was even born, you would remember the first female referee sexual harassment scandal and how she basically got laughed out of the building, which today's point, that would not happen. But considering it was a different time, it was more common. It was surprising that he forgot all of that, but remembers that he was also on Playboy and did some interviews in regards to having an affair with his wife. Or affairs with an S. Unbelievable. And one of the other things I also had noticed that had caught my attention was some of the stuff that was not mentioned. So, one of the things that was really mentioned, or that was not really mentioned, was basically during the lawsuit that was announced, there were other people involved. Like, they didn't mention WWE by name, probably because of the Netflix deal. But they also had left out that Triple H may have something to do with the lawsuit, that Stephanie might have something to do. Well, not really a lawsuit, or like something had occurred and Triple H happened to be, possibly have been a witness. Stephanie might have been a witness. They did reveal that it was Brock Lesnar. That received the texts because his contract was renewed. We kind of had a feeling already it was Brock, and it kind of led to that. But the docuseries kind of just confirmed that, yeah, it was pretty much Brock. There was another situation that occurred involving Ashley Massaro, where there was an incident at the Tribute to the Troops show, and in order to stay in good graces, to have the Tribute to the Troops situation occur, apparently WWE had just put the situation and hid it under the rug. Back then in 2019, she ended up ending herself, which is terrible because she was a very nice lady. But one of the key things was that Stephanie apparently encouraged her to not say anything. Oh, I'm sorry. Stephanie encouraged her to say something, but when something was said, Stephanie was defending Vince. I'm trying to remember that specifically, but they didn't really mention that. And again, that could be because of WWE moving to Netflix. But it just all around it was a crazy special or episodes all around the docuseries. Highly recommend it. 5 stars out of 5. Even if you're not someone who likes to see the burial of Vince, you can also have like a history lesson in everything of wrestling that he had done. Because people can say a lot of things. People that can say that he's guilty, he's innocent, he's anywhere in between. But you also can't deny he did start WWE from the ground up, from being a territorial wrestling company to a worldwide entertainment that it is today. But that's all I really want to talk about. Yeah, so if you haven't seen the docuseries, I recommend it. And just, you guys be good now. See you later tonight for another Twitch night.